Hey guys, I'm just waiting for a few more people to join, and then we'll dive in. I did this quick live stream publicly, so if you came here from YouTube and you're not in my private trading group, then you don't know. But I just told everybody, hey, I'm just gonna do like a quick 5 minute stream. I guess I put it in the title of this video, so never mind. Yeah, I was gonna do a really quick one, just to really quickly give everybody an idea, because I was gonna do an update, and then instead of doing an update video and uploading it and giving it a title, it was annoying. I was like, all right, I'll just do a live stream, a 5 minute live stream, quickly run over the chart, explain what I'm thinking, and then people can play it back later. It was just easier. So, all right, give me a second. I'm just waiting for a few more people to join. Some people from the private group still haven't hopped in. They told me they'll be there in a couple minutes, so I'm just gonna wait a few minutes till they DM me. Give it like 2, 3, maybe 5 more minutes at the most, but probably like 2 more minutes, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. I don't have much to go over, but there's a chance I might enter some trades. I might stay out and just go to sleep because I'm really tired. I already passed out on the couch, and I was like, shit, I really want to do a stream with the group. So I will potentially enter some trades. We'll see. All right, I'll be right back. Hey, all right, I'll dive in. So again, for people who just showed up, I'm just gonna take a few minutes to run through stuff and go to sleep. I was thinking by the time I got the kids to bed, I could do a live stream with the premium group and everything, but I was gonna do it just to do some live trading so we can find some trades live. Last night we did a stream. I got into some trades and it was too early, so I got stopped out. So I wanted to do the same tonight, but I didn't want to get into anything like after I mean, with my risk management, obviously when I'm wrong and when my trades don't do well, I take a tiny loss. That's the point, right? I set a tight stop loss, so my losses are really small. And you guys have seen my breakout trades where I'll get in, for a massive run. I mean, I called the bottom of this run flawlessly, right? So I can make a lot of money on those big breakouts, but the losses, I lose a tiny bit. Problem is, it adds up, right? So if you lose 7, 8, 9, 10 trades, you're losing a lot. Even if you're losing 1 or 2% on each trade, it adds up. So I wanted to be careful and not get too crazy today. So I've only entered a couple trades here and there. Like I got into Bitcoin, which is still holding. I got into a midterm hold and a short-term trade on KSM. The short-term trade like instantly stopped out, and that's what I've been talking about, right? Like you always have to remember. One of the reasons why I was reminding you guys the last video update I did. I just did a quick reminder and was like, you have to remember, when I get into a trade, I'll get into a short-term trade with a tight stop loss, 1 or 2, maybe 3% below my entry. I'll have a stop loss, so I can't take a big loss. But I'm also going to buy a midterm hold that doesn't have a stop loss, because if I'm confident that we're going to go up and I'm just not sure on the timing, when the market's as volatile as it's been, we'll have a really strong support, and then all of a sudden we'll have like a couple candles that dump down, go to the next support, and then we break out big. And then I end up missing out. Just look at CHZ, right? CHZ I got into last night. And right after I got in, look, it dipped down and it hit my stop loss on my short-term trade. I lost 2.9% on this trade, on the short-term trade, because I bought in here. It immediately dipped, just hit my stop loss, and then it pumped like crazy. But I also got a midterm back, and I have a long-term position, so I still overall did well because I'm diversifying my strategies. I'm not only getting into short-term trades with a tight stop loss. I'm doing that. I'm also, at the same time, opening up a position without a tight stop loss, so there's a little bit of flexibility there. And when the market's the way it's been, every time I've been entering trades lately, I feel like, maybe not every time, but most of the times in the last week or two that I've been entering trades, I'm very careful to remind everybody in the group, and especially with the premium group when we do live streams, that, hey, I'm getting into some trades here, but there's a chance we might get a quick dip down, so just be aware of that. I think there's a pretty decent probability that we could get a quick dip down. So if you're getting in, make sure you're factoring that into your risk analysis and all that. Anyway, so that's why I'm being kind of careful now. I don't want to jump in, even though I feel like we're about to make a move. Let's look at the majors really quick, because BTC is the biggest thing. So BTC, wider view, we had the initial breakout, actually formed an inverted head and shoulders. Not that that was my plan. Up on the 4-hour, we have resistance from the 222 EMA. That's my key Ichimoku dynamic resistance, one of the most important resistances I have. The fact that we've had such a substantial correction on the Stochh here, but only had a sideways correction, I mentioned this in my earlier video, that's always really bullish. So you can see here, right? We ran up, and then we had a substantial correction, right? We came back down quite a bit. Like this move up was... Since my bottom entry, well, from the bottom, it was 20%. From my entry right here to the top was a 17% run, and then it dipped back down 10%, right? That was a decent retrace. Well, this time we had a nice move up, and then it's barely come down. It's pretty much just been moving sideways. So we had a full reset on the Stochh here on the 4-hour. It took a while. It did some zigzagginess, but... we had a full reset, and the entire time it's just been trying to push up but kind of going sideways. It hasn't really made a drop down. It had one candle where it actually broke above the 222 for a second, so that's a really, really bullish indication. If you also look at the daily, we've also got a high, relatively high. Well, the daily's been kind of overbought and hyper bullish here, so it's not really that reliable. I can't really trust the daily on the Stochh here, but that's also something to factor in. So there is resistance there, and if we were going to get a retrace, it would probably happen here based on the daily. But we're overall trending so bullish that it just still looks bullish. That 4-hour still looks really bullish. So I think we're going to make a move up, but I'm just not confident in it right now. There have been a lot of things lately where I'll see conflicting signals, right? So the daily makes it look like we're going to come down, but look what happened last time, right? The daily moved up. We started to turn back down on the daily on the Stochh. We actually got that initial crossover. It looked like the stochastic oscillator was going to reset back down. And again, if you follow the Stochh, bottom to top right here, bottom to top, you can see that's a big swing in the price. So bottom to top is bottom to top. That's a big pump. Top to bottom, big dump. Bottom to top, same thing, right? So the Stochh is really good at predicting those reversals. So when we got up to the top and it started to turn down, right as we got rejected from this trendline resistance, I expected us to go down. Well, we didn't go down. We went down a little bit, and then we immediately broke through that resistance on the next push up. So the daily's not that reliable right now. The fact that it just, essentially, the daily was just wrong on this turnaround. So since my model was just wrong, I'm not going to trust the daily here. The 4 hour, though, is looking pretty locked in. The 4 hour definitely looks like we're going to make a nice move up through the 222 EMA. Once we break that 222, not a quick wick like we had here, once we break this 222 EMA with some force, or if we close above it rather, right, there's 3 hours and 40 minutes left on this candle. So whether it's this candle or the next candle, relatively soon within the next couple candles, and that's why I'm not going to get into any trades. I'm just going to go to sleep and rest up, because I don't think it's going to happen right away. Unless I find an alt that looks like it's about to break out, I'll probably won't enter trades. But we'll look at a couple of them really quick. If we can break up and close one of these candles above the 222, we're probably going to keep going up. If we can't do that, if we start making a move down, we could certainly still go down with the daily looking like that. And again, that's why I don't want to just jump in. I kind of want to wait till I get that confirmed bullish reversal. Once we start to get that lower stoke down in these oversold ranges and it starts to turn up, it's starting a new momentum shift, and we're probably going to start a new short-term trend up. There's a really good chance that that's how it's going to play out. So you can see, I mean, every time we bounce on the stoke, especially at these lower levels, we get a nice move up. But sometimes you'll get this initial bounce, like right here. See, it got really low and then it turned up. But look what happened. We moved sideways, a quick little dip, and then it finally broke up. So it doesn't give me a precise entry like it normally does, because the market's been so crazy lately. When the market's locked in a bullish or a bearish trend overall, I could predict those reversals with scary precision. Now, I will say, my weekly model, ever since I predicted this local bottom, has been flawless. I mean, I got in exactly at the last bottom once we got the weekly crossover. And the weekly looking that bullish is a really good sign. So if you wanted to get in mid to long-term hold and you weren't looking for like a short-term trade, if you just want to buy and hold, you could probably buy right now and you'd be pretty safe, because it looks like we're going to continue this trend. I think we have a couple weeks of overall bullish action. We're going to have ups and downs along the way, obviously, but overall, I expect to continue upward. Originally, I was thinking 45K would have been a good target. We could push higher than that, potentially. I mean, the bottom of the cloud here on the daily is about 46. I don't know if we go down a couple times and have a couple dips before we make it there. We might end up pulling into the cloud over here. But the bottom of the cloud here is going to be really strong resistance. So we might make it up to 46K if we pump really quickly. Otherwise, if it takes a little longer, we might end up kind of going into this wall that's coming down from the cloud, which is going to create a trendline resistance. You'll see, once we get up here, there's an extraordinarily high probability that we're going to get this red trendline resistance, which is essentially just a linear fit model of the bottom of the cloud here, is going to be a considerably stronger resistance than we've had lately. Although this trendline resistance, that white line, was a really strong resistance too. I would expect to see something similar here. I would expect to get slammed down as soon as we hit here. Just to give you a really quick example, when we get to the bottom of the cloud like this, when we're pushing up into the bottom of the cloud, and we have either a vertical drop on the cloud or at least a steep decline like this, that creates a bit of a wall, and I call that a cloud wall. Look what happened, what was it recently? It was, where was it? Was it on? Which time frame was that? I think it was over here. No, it wasn't over here. It was maybe on the daily? No, it wasn't on the daily. It was a few days ago. Oh, it was over here. Alright, so we had this push up after we bottomed out that time, right? And then as we approached the bottom of the cloud here, I was talking about how we have a cloud wall here, and it's going to be an incredibly hard resistance to break. And look, slam back down, try to break it again, slam back down. We didn't actually break into the cloud until the fourth attempt. So it's a similar situation. I expect once we get up to that level, it's going to be really tough to break into the cloud. So we still have plenty of room. We could obviously go up another $6,000 on BTC. Now, if we go up $6,000 on BTC, we could go up a lot more than that on some of the alts. So from here to there, if we were to make a move like that, we could go up anywhere 10 to 15% on Bitcoin over the next couple weeks, as long as we maintain that bullish heading, which I think we will. Then the altcoins, a lot of them will outperform BTC like crazy. That's the other thing that I should mention is lately we've seen some we haven't seen quite the correlation with BTC that we normally do. So normally it's married, where BTC makes a big move up or down, and that drives the rest of the market. We've had several instances of late where BTC has pumped and dramatically outperformed the altcoins, and we've seen a likewise increase in BTC dominance. I think we're going to continue to see that trend overall, but there will be certain times, like lately, where BTC will be relatively stagnant. It's maybe up a tiny bit or down a tiny bit, and the alts are just ripping. We've seen that lately. The difference between now and during the bull run, when we were really pumping aggressively over the last 6 months, the difference between now and then is back then, everything was pumping. Now you actually have to be surgical and identify the trades that have the highest prospects of breaking out. You need to look for things that have a high probability of a substantial breakout. You want to find things that are breaking above a key resistance, and that resistance then becomes support. You want to identify the beginning of trends, so you want to use my stochastic model to identify bullish reversals. And the Ichimoku dynamics are key because you want to get into trades when they're above a strong support, so you have a lot of protection there, so the price is held up by a support structure. So you want to factor all that stuff in on the way up. Now, as for right now, what do I want to do? I want to go to sleep. Like I said, I'm really tired. Everybody in the group knows I used to do live streams for like 4 hours, and I would be in the group trading until 4, 5, 6 a.m., especially during the whole bull run. I would do it all the time. I don't know if that caught up with me or I'm just getting older, but I'm just it's like 11 o'clock and I'm so tired. It's been like this the last week or two, so I think I just need to get some rest in and catch up and sleep, and then I can go back to my normal crazy self. So yeah, right here, if before I go to bed we start seeing a move, I could potentially make a move. But the last reversal on the hourly didn't make a big push up. We just kind of stuck in this sideways channel. We've had lots of ups and downs, and if you look at the Stoke, I mean, the wave structure on the Stoke perfectly coincides with the price action, right? So every time we have a peak and a trough on the Stoke here, on the oscillator, you can see it corresponds to a peak and a trough, a peak and a trough, a peak and a trough on the price action. But overall, it's just moving sideways. We're not really breaking out of that. We're in that channel for the most part. So until we get above that, I'm not going to really have a lot of confidence, and I probably won't want to enter into anything. So I think right now I probably won't. I'll run through some of my watch list right now just for shits and giggles. Take a look at some of my list here. Like, for instance, KSM, right? Like I said, I had gotten into a short-term trade, which instantly stopped out, but I also have my midterm bag here. Well, we have a good support over here. You can see it was a strong resistance back over here. This level was really hard to break through. And then not very precise. It's not like this exact level, but this general vicinity, there was a lot of support, right? It held up over here. And then we had this horizontal support over here, obviously. So that support briefly broke. I'm expecting it to hold down at this level, though, especially since we have the bottom of the cloud here. The bottom of the cloud is one of my key dynamic support levels, right, with my Ichimoku model. You can see the top of the cloud was a really strong support over here. Even over here, it took a while before it finally broke down into the thick part of the cloud. Since we're so oversold on the Stoke and it's so low, I think there's a really good chance we're going to make a move up from the bottom of the cloud here. But I'm not going to enter a short-term trade, again, because it's really tough to measure probability of a breakout here. That's really all I see in KSM. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let my existing position ride. I'm not gonna add to it. I'm not gonna get into any short-term trade or anything like that. Here's another example. UTK. This is just I had gotten in there, but I'm just holding. It's a midterm trade. We're really low in the Stoke. It looks like we're making a move up pretty soon. So once it finally does break out, I'm confident that these trades will do well. And again, that's why getting into that midterm hold mindset instead of just having those short-term trades is great. These are all bullish formations, right? These are all bull flags. Some of them have pennants, but they're all like a bull flag or a bull pennant. So everything about this looks bullish, except for what I showed you with the daily model, the daily Stoke being really high on BTC. That's not the case on a lot of the alts. A lot of the alts have a relatively low daily Stoke. Either they're really low or they have already gotten a reversal and started turning up and haven't really ran out of space. So there's still plenty of room to run. And the stochastic's a momentum oscillator, so that indicates momentum trends. So when you're just starting to turn up like that, you're starting a new momentum trend. If you could build up some momentum, you can really make a strong move, and you have a lot of time to run before you get a reversal and come back down. I don't know why I'm really looking at the daily here. It's not as relevant, but I will say in the live stream we were talking about hot. I ended up not getting in, but I really, really liked how it looked the other night, but I didn't make the move because I didn't think it was ready yet. And same thing right now. It still looks really good. It might not be ready just yet, but it looks really good. Just another bull flag. So normally you would have this, right? Then you get this retrace, and then you start that next leg up. So that's what I'm expecting. And I'm really confident it's going to happen, but I can't get into more positions until we see signals that it's happening. Normally, this Stoke turning up here would be a signal that that's happening. That would normally be an indication like, all right, it's time to get in. But like I said, it's been really tough lately because you'll start getting that turn up, and then you just make another dump down. It hasn't been as reliable as it normally is because we're in a volatile market right now. We're in that space when there's still a chance we could recover into a bull market, but if we don't make a run and get back to all-time highs in the very near future, then we're going to be entering probably anywhere from 4 to 10 month correction. All right, let's run through a few more of these. I just want to see if anything else looks like it could be ready. Same thing with Cody. Yeah, it looks really bullish too with that low Stoke at the bottom of the cloud. It looks really good. SOL looks really good. We got the reset. This is from last night, by the way, on the live stream. I highlighted, I said a lot of assets have a rising wedge, and a rising wedge is almost always going to dump. And sure enough, it did. So that was another reason why I didn't get into that many trades last night. Although now SOL is holding at the top of the cloud, and the Ichimoku dynamic supports with these EMAs. It's kind of all clustered together right here. So there's a lot of support right there. This wouldn't be a bad trade to get into now, actually. So now, again, as a short-term trade, it's not a great idea because we could get these quick wicks. You could get a quick dump and then it breaks out. But if you were to buy right now and put your stop loss like 5% below your entry, I wouldn't do that for short-term trades. My short-term trades, I don't put my stop loss 5% below my entry. I put my stop loss 1%, 1.5%, 2%, sometimes 2.5% below my entry. Every once in a while, I'll get into a trade where I'll put my stop loss a full 5% below my entry. That's usually a midterm hold where I'm willing to take a little bit more risk. Or sometimes I'll get in and I won't put any stop loss on it at first. But when I do that, I'm putting a lot less money into the trade. If I put, if say you put like $10,000 into a short-term trade with a really tight stop loss, if you had a scenario like this where you could get in, but you had to put your stop loss all the way down here to make sure all this support was there to protect your stop loss, you wouldn't want to put $10,000 on the line and risk 5%, right? So you might say, all right, I'm going to get into the trade, but instead of putting 10 grand in with a 5% stop loss, I'll put in half that. I'll only put in 5 grand. So that way you're compensating for the increase in risk. But this general area would be a really good time to get into. So because we had the rising wedge, it did come down exactly like I expected. Now short term, we actually have a falling wedge, right? It's much smaller, of course, right? But there, we actually have a falling wedge where we're consolidating down into the apex as we approach that support structure with the 4-hour Stoke turning up. It really does look good. The only issue I have with it is kind of have to take a little bit more risk than I would like to get in. Now, I will say, and again, this is another example, this does look really good to potentially get in right here. Normally, if we didn't have the sort of erratic and volatile market we've had of late, I would say this is a really, really good looking setup right here. Got it right down to the 382. I would expect to correct more, maybe to the 50% retracement, but if you're bullish, you could obviously get a more shallow retrace. So, yeah, if we were more bullish and we weren't having the volatility we've been seeing lately, this would be an incredible entry because on the hourly model, we have the cloud here, top and the bottom of the cloud, the 222, the 99 EMA, all within my stop loss zone. So between my entry and my stop loss, that's where all those Ichimoku dynamic supports are. Consequently, if you look at the 4-hour model, same thing. If you look at the 4-hour model, you could enter here, and your stop loss, still, you could have the 99 EMA at the top of the cloud, although in this case, this is what I was talking about, your stop loss would have to go lower to make sure you also have the 222 in there, just to make sure you have that extra protection. You can see, like, on this big dump here, there were some quick wicks, but besides those wicks, the EMAs held perfectly. Over here, they broke, but then it was a big resistance from the 222, right? We got back above, came back down, the 222 held, came back down, now the 55 is holding. So I really like this potential entry, but it's tough getting it as a short-term setup. The hourly chart looks really good as a short-term setup, but it's a little risky because we keep getting these quick dips, and all short-term trades are just really tough to manage right now. So for that reason, I'm not going to do it. But if I did, I can enter right now, place my stop loss 2.6% below my entry. It is a really, really good trade in a normal market. It's just, I'm scared right now. I'm scared money. I'm scared trading right now. So I'm not going to make the short-term trade. I'm going to get some, though. I'm going to get some as a mid to long-term hold, depending on how things work out. But at the very least, I'm going to get some. I'm going to get a much smaller position, and I'm not going to set a stop loss right away because I'm really confident we're going to continue upward very, very soon. And if we happen to go down, I can always liquidate it and take the rest of my money out, and I'll take the loss. Let's look at a few more, but really quick, I'm actually going to just place this order right now. Hold on, stand by. Let me just get my buys in. You know what? I'm going to set... Let me set one more buy in case it dips down a little bit so I can fill a lower entry. Alright. You know what? I should just tell the group. I don't know if there's anybody in the group who didn't jump on the stream, but since I have you guys here, since there's some people here who aren't from YouTube, in addition to shilling the group, let me tell you guys something. A couple things. For some reason, a lot of scammers have been posting shit on my videos on YouTube. So if you guys ever see anything that's from me and it's like, oh, DM me and I'll give you free access to the group, or hey, I can send you some free crypto or something from a fake Darth crypto account, it's not me. That's one. And if you ever post, sometimes in videos where I talk about like hacks or people who lost money or people who got wrecked because they got screwed over by sending money on the wrong network, like the BEP20 issue with Coinbase. Scammers flood my comments section and say, "Oh, I can get your money back for you. Just contact me on Instagram at XYZ." It's really annoying. So don't pay attention to those. Make sure you're not. I actually have a video. Just search it out. I have a video from a few weeks ago where it was like a half hour long. I went over the main ways that people get ruined when they get into crypto, or they don't know how the stuff works. They don't understand how many hackers and scammers there are everywhere and how to protect yourself. It's a really good idea, especially if you're newer to the trading game. And then lastly, if you're not in the group, if you guys wanted to support me and show me some love and learn how to trade and learn how to do all this stuff, feel free to join the premium group. I love teaching people and I love sharing my knowledge because I used to be a noob who got wrecked too, so I like sharing it with other people because back then I really could have used somebody like me now to help mentor me and teach me, and now I'm able to give back and help people, so I really like to do it. So if you wanted to join the group, it'd be awesome to have you. There'll be a link in the description of this. If not, it's in all my videos. Has a link to the group in Discord. Once you get into Discord, you can see all the details on how to sign up and how to join and everything. So this was my BCH trade from the other day, but I closed it out right at the top. So that actually went really well. That worked out perfectly. I closed that thing at the perfect time. I think BCH is something to watch because if we get this reversal on Bitcoin, which looks like she's starting to push up, I mean, this is what I was afraid of. I'm already going like, we've been doing this for 30 minutes. I was going to do a 5-minute stream, right? And now I kept saying like, all right, well, unless she starts to break up, I'm probably just going to do a quick stream and call it a night. The reason I think this might actually be the breakup is, other than that one big wick, we had a pretty consistent resistance here forming that trend line. And we are pushing above it again, so that's certainly interesting. Till we get to a new local high, I'm not sure if that's the breakout yet, but the 4-hour turning up. Man. I'm going to have to get into more stuff if it looks like we're going to move. Let's look at a couple more alts. Why not? But yeah, BCH will definitely outperform Bitcoin. So it used to be, especially during the last bull run, when Bitcoin was doing well, you would have Ethereum and BCH would blow Bitcoin away. Now, Bitcoin's been on fire lately, but I have a feeling Bitcoin Cash is really going to make solid moves. So if Bitcoin goes up 5%, we might get back to a place where Bitcoin Cash is going up 10%, where it just outperforms it every time. It seems like we're getting into that space because I've seen a bit of an evening out. Bitcoin dominance was increasing as Bitcoin outperformed everything else, and we're starting to see it getting a little bit closer. We're not seeing such an overperformance from Bitcoin anymore. I mean, even right now, Bitcoin's moving up. Everything else is still red, but I feel like once everything catches up, we might see some alts really make big moves, and Bitcoin Cash might be the best major to get into short term, as opposed to 2 months ago, I would have said Ethereum is the best trade to get into. But I think BCH is probably the best major to get into, especially the way she performed last time I got in. I didn't get that quick dip. I actually got in at the perfect time. My model held flawlessly. I called the breakout with incredible precision. So the fact that she held up really well the last time I made a call on her, I feel confident she's going to do well and outperform Bitcoin this time around. Look at a few more alts just to see if there's anything else worth getting into. See Matic. Now, this looks really good at the top of the cloud. I really wish the Stoke could reset a bit more. It's a little bit high here. Now, if everything starts to turn up, Matic will follow, but until the Stoke gets a little bit lower, I don't want to jump in just yet. The top of the cloud should be a really strong support, though. I mean, you can see, just a really quick example, like look. The top of the cloud was an insane support. Like, we were dumping so hard, and it bounced right at the top of the cloud. Right at the top of the cloud. And then eventually it fails and it breaks through, right? That always happens. And then over here, well, those calls were flawless, huh? Go over here, like look, big, let me show you. Big dump right here. That candle bounced right at the top of the cloud. Then we came down here, and these candles held right at the top of the cloud. This candle held at the top of the cloud. Eventually it failed. What was the next big support? The bottom of the cloud, right? Then we go back up and move sideways for a while, and it hasn't really been as relevant lately because we haven't been making a big move towards it. But when you make a big move right into the cloud, like even here, you see these candles split right at the bottom of the cloud. Resistance from the bottom, resistance from the bottom, resistance from the bottom of the cloud, finally broke through, now support at the top of the cloud. The top and the bottom of the cloud are really, really good for dynamic support when you don't have a horizontal support there to say, oh, well, there's always a big bounce right at this level. If you have one of those dynamics there, you can relatively accurately predict a reversal in some cases. So I think we might see a bullish reversal here, but again, it's just a little on the early side. So I don't know if I want to jump into Matic just yet. Doge is obviously really, really hard to predict because it's so manipulated. But it happens to be in a good area right now for a potential move. The Stoke reset on the 4-hour looks nice. The other time frames are just kind of hit or miss. So oh wow, yeah, that weekly really looks good, even better than on Bitcoin. I'm not going to make a move with Doge though. It's like SRM, IOTX, they're below the cloud, so I don't like those nearly as much. But here's a good example of what I'm talking about, right? You can see, look how hard it is to break into the cloud. Like every time she makes a big push up, the bottom of the cloud just knocks her back down. And when it happens to squeeze through the bottom of the cloud, what's next? My 99 EMA. And first resistance, like just IOTX is a perfect example of each of my model, right? 55 EMA, really strong resistance. It finally breaks. My next each of my dynamic, bottom of the cloud. Rejected. Bottom of the cloud in the 99, rejected. Bottom of the cloud, pushing it down. If it breaks through, the 99 EMA is next. So my 5 dynamic support resistances it's really insane how accurate they are sometimes. Isn't that kind of cool? Like with the naked eye, you could just see that and your brain just fills in from here to here. You're like, wait, that actually looks like that's a straight line. You look at enough charts, it just becomes second nature. It's just kind of crazy how that happens. Oh, I already had a line there, that yellow line. So we already had that trend line marked off. And that would end up here, a little bit higher. Although you could draw a trend line from here. Across the wick right there, wick right there. We got 3 points of contact. That's a consistent trend line. That actually forms a bit of a bear pennant, to be honest, but I'm not too worried about that. Bottom of the cloud again, right? Strong resistance. All these candles. These are 4-hour candles. There's a lot of trading happening there. And just can't break through the bottom, right? When it finally did, the bottom became a support. So then it was holding us up till it eventually failed on like the 5th time. And now the bottom of the cloud is that strong resistance. So even though the Stoke's turning up, XRP is tough too. We see if anything else is. So BNB could potentially be working with something. So top of the cloud on the 55 EMA could be a good launching point, especially with that full reset on the Stoke. You know what? I haven't gotten into any other short-term trades except for Bitcoin right now. I think I'm going to do it. I'll pull the trigger on BNB. Look at that. I can keep my stop loss less than 2% below my entry. So worst case, if it sets a new local low, goes below the prior bottom, I get stopped out. I'm talking about a tiny, tiny loss, right? 1.9%, less than 2% would be my loss. But if I'm right, and I get this 4-hour reversal and she starts to move up, she could potentially get up to the 222 and make a 10% move up. So that's a 5-to-1. That's essentially a 5 RR, right? Over 5. And she can honestly do more than 10. She would have to break through the 222 EMA, though, and that's a little bit tough. But it's possible. She could run more than 10%. But at the very least, it's a 5-to-1 RR, meaning my risk-to-reward ratios is 5-to-1. Yeah, I'm going to do it. All right, screw it. All right, I'm getting BNB. Again, I'm going to give you the same warning that there's some risk here because even though my model suggests this is the perfect BNB entry right here for a short-term trade, I have to warn you that pretty much every time I've said that over the last week, there's been a quick wick down and then it continues upward, and I do get the reversal call. It definitely pumps just like I predicted it would, but it also has a quick little final candle or two down before it finally breaks out, and it can hit your stop loss. So if you wanted to follow my trades and trade with me, you can. Just accept that risk. There's a chance that can happen. That's why I'm not getting into a ton of trades. I'm only going to get into 1, 2, 3 trades that are short term. The rest of them are going to be those midterm holds where I just buy and I hold it. I don't put nearly as much money into it, but I know that if I'm right, I'm going to make a lot of money on it, so it's worth the risk. All right, give me a sec. I'm just doing it from my phone. Setting some buys. In case it goes down a little bit more, I'll set a couple lower buys, but I'm essentially just buying right around here. All right. Guys in the group will know what I'm referring to when I circle that. So normally, I mentioned this earlier, when I get into short-term trades like this, normally I also add some to my long-term bag. BNB is one of my larger long-term positions already, so it's not like a new trade where I get a long-term bag and a short-term bag. Like a short-term trade and then a mid to long-term hold with no stop loss. In the case of BNB, when we first hit 30K on BTC, for those who aren't in the group who don't know this, or you probably do because I did a lot of public video updates at that point, but I called the bottom at 30K, and I got into BNB dot, and then the four majors, BTC, ETH, BCH, LTC, and I think it was one or two other alts. What were the other ones I got into? What was it? Jeez, I can't remember. I got one or two other altcoins at the same time, but those mid to long term holds I got in right at the bottom, and BNB is one of the larger ones. So I'm actually not adding now. So even though I'm getting in normally at this point, what I would do is I'd get into this short term trade with a nice tight stop loss. Say I put like $1,000 or say I put $100 into this, I would also put like 10% of that. I'd put like $10 towards the long term bag. So if I did a $10,000 trade, I would put $1,000 into a long-term bag and $10,000 into the short-term trade with a tight stop loss. I'm not going to add to my long-term position on BNB because I already have enough, and I don't want to add to it right now. Okay, so I got BNB, I got SOL, And let me look at a few more and just see if any of them are ready. So Dot, one of the guys in the group mentioned Dot earlier, and I said it wasn't quite ready yet, and you can see why. I mean, I was spot on. What time was that? Chuck said that. Chuck of his prime said that at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, around there. So we didn't come back down that much from there, but you can see it definitely wasn't ready. We needed to come down a bit more in the 4 hour and fully reset. Now it definitely looks like the 4 hour is turning up. We got current price. This one's a little bit tougher just because if I could get in, like look at the 99 EMA. That's one of my dynamic supports, right? Insane. If you just bought right at the 99, look at the 99 here. Massive rejection. Massive rejection. Massive, massive, massive. Boom, boom, boom. All these rejections. Even when it does break through, generally that general area is still held really well at the 99. So the fact that the 99 is now holding its support, really, really good. I would have loved to enter into a short-term position right here, like just above the 99. That would have been an incredible, incredible entry. One of those all-time precision entries if I could have bought in right there. But I obviously missed it. So if I were to buy right here, around the current price, I could still get in. I'd have to place my stop loss about just 2.75, 2.8% below my entry, and my stop loss would be below the 99, but it would also require a quick, if it did wick down, it would have to hold really precisely, because if it wicked just a little bit further really quickly, I would get stopped out. So that's what makes it a little bit tougher of a call to make. The 4 hour does look really good on the Stoke, turning up like that. It's a really good sign. And the hourly's turning up too. Like, if I could have bought in right there, just right here, right above the 55 EMA on here too, I could have had such a better trade. I think it's worth the risk. I wish the hourly was giving me a little bit more info too. This is another one, like I said, Dot is one of my larger bags that I got at the bottom when I went long, when I called the big bottom of the dump. So I'm not going to add to my long-term bag, but I am going to get a short-term trade here too. And this is probably going to be my last one. Although Sol wasn't a short-term play. BNB is a short-term trade, and now Dot is a short-term trade. So maybe I'll open one more. I don't know. If something looks really good, I'll do it. So far, BNB and Dot look really good. I'm not just like, oh, I really want to get into trade, so I'll just pick these two. Those two really do look good. But again, same warning. It's been really volatile lately, so if it was a month or two ago, I'd be getting in right now, and I would say I have the highest imaginable confidence right now. But right now, I'm not so confident just because that's what we keep seeing, you know? Big wicks down like that. You'll see a quick wick, and then it'll pump. Link, the 4 hour Stoke looks really good on Link too. We have horizontal support there. I like on the hourly, we have a great support structure here. Not that tight though. If Link was a bit tighter there, that would be nicer. That's what she said. Yeah, nearly a 50% retrace. Well, realistically, I mean, I guess that could be a wave 5 because we could have something like that resistance. That's only 10%. But if I'm right about having a multi-week run here, then overall this would be wave 1, right? So this is just the sub-wave count. That's that first motive wave. Well, that's wave 1. So this whole thing would be wave 1 because with Elliott wave, you have these subwaves, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creates that one wave. So that first impulse wave is wave 1, the first motive wave of this impulse. Then you get a wave 2, and then a big wave 3. So if that happens, we're talking about a really nice run. Ooh, wow. Actually, Ethereum looks really good. I thought BCH would be the best looking major here, but Ethereum is talking to me. Look at that. That could be a really good trade. Ooh. Ooh la la. Love it when you talk dirty to me. The cloud uptrend is nice. Now we're sitting at the top of the cloud, that resistance there, but if that cloud was going up more, oh, that would be incredible. So the only reason I'm thinking ETH looks really good here is because if I were to buy right here, I could put my stop loss less than 2% below my entry, like maybe even 1.5% below my entry. Not only am I covered with the prior bottom and the 99 EMA, which is held really, really well, I also have the top of the cloud for a little extra protection. I'm going to keep looking, but that definitely is intriguing. That looks really good. Like, there's something specific that I would love to see. If I can see the perfect setup, it would be a vertical cloud wall. And we would have a really big support structure on the upcoming wall, like coming into essentially what we have on Ethereum here. What was it? On the hourly? Yeah, on the hourly. But imagine instead, imagine one of these where we come down like this, and we're coming into like this big vertical cloud wall going up like that. That would be big. So like we're right in the cloud here on ADA, so I don't like that as much. JST actually looks really good, but it looks like she's already started pushing up. And if this actually does break out here, I feel like I probably missed out on it. We also have a bit of a rising wedge starting, but as if she can push up and get above the 55 here, she'll run to the top of the cloud, and then it'll invalidate that that bearish wedge. VTHO is going to make an explosive run. I mean, this thing pumped 90% and then came back down, but I think she's going to make a bigger run than that. Algo looks pretty damn nice. It's a little bit higher. So like the top of the cloud, again, really strong support. I would love to buy in and use the top of the cloud. Maybe if it was down here I could have, but I missed it because it already bounced. We also have a little doji here, which is our nice potential reversal. Or a hammer rather, not a doji. Huh. Similar to Ethereum. Better in some ways, actually, but similar to Ethereum. LTC. I don't know which I would say is better between the two, but they do look similar. Fat. Not bad looking. I don't like being in the cloud, but at least we're on the bottom of the cloud, so that's good. Like these Neo, I would stay away from everything that's below all the EMAs in the cloud like this. Some of them might break out and do well, but I just don't trust them. It's below so much resistance. So broke through, and now we're riding along that trend. Also in the cloud. Yeah, I think that's probably it in my watch list that I want to get into. Well, there's other ones that I think might do well, but I just don't want to take the risk of getting into more trades right now, just given my concerns about a potential quick dip before a breakout. theta looks good too. I like that. I like the way the top of the cloud and the EMAs are. We got a lot of support there, but spread out a bit, I guess. Yeah, because if I wanted to use the top of the cloud on the 222 and the 55 cluster to protect my stop loss would have to be like 4% below entry. It's a little on the high side. Although theta isn't a bad trade now to get into just for a midterm hold, as long as you're not worried about the ups and downs right away. If you want to buy it and you're willing to hold it if necessary, then it's probably a pretty good time to get in. Especially since overall I'm pretty damn confident that we're going to go bullish. All right, I'm going to run through a few more at the top again, just because I went through them first and I want to run through them again before we sign off. But I think that's probably going to be it. Everything else looks exactly the same. You can see these are all like identical. We got the cloud and all the EMAs coming down, and the price is currently below all that stuff. All of each of my dynamic resistances, right? So LRC, Mana, Ren, ZRX, ONT, when they're all exactly the same. And then Tomo finally is up. But everyone in that list up until Tomo is the same. Yeah. No point looking at the rest of those. All right, so let me run back through the top really quick. So we had Dot, which I got into, and she's holding well so far. Looks really good. Again, I really wish my stop loss was lower on this, but I don't want to take a stop loss at 3.5% below entry or something like that, just to take an extra loss. I'm accepting the risk. It's possible we can quickly come down and then push up, but I'm going to accept the risk, because if we don't, and if we do indeed hold, if the model holds this time, it's going to be it's going to go down as a great entry. She's pushing up a little bit. So I feel like SOL I got in a little bit early. The other stuff seemed like it was more ready. BNB with my SL under 2. I'm kind of wondering if... Hold on. Give me 1 second here. Let me see something. What I'm thinking is it worth it to take a little extra risk, place my stop loss lower? But no, I would have to go so low. I was thinking maybe I could set my stop loss a bit lower just in case of a quick wick. Maybe put it below the bottom of the cloud on the hourly, but that wouldn't really work. Alright, we'll see how these go. We'll let these ride for now. Again, KSM, I expect this bounce on the bottom of the cloud. So far, I am right. I have my midterm bag here. I was thinking about actually opening up another short-term trade, although when I first told you guys about it on this stream, it was all the way down here on the bottom of the cloud. Now she's bouncing back up, so it's a little bit late, but I'm fine. I have my midterm bag still open of KSM. I only got stopped out of that one small short-term trade. And obviously now I have DOTS, SOL, BNB, and BTC. So if Bitcoin does get this push up, we're going to get above the 222 and then she'll break out. All right. Anybody have any questions? I used to use MACD. Somebody asked about if I use MACD. It's just another indicator. I don't anymore. I used to, and then I just sort of settled into my model with my oscillators, and I don't really use MACD anymore. But it worked, just not as well as what I do now. But I know a couple people in the group actually were talking about it, and there were some charts where they kind of combined mine with my existing model with MACD, and it seemed like it fit pretty well. So there might be something I'll use. I'll consider it. I'll have to probably back test it a bit and check some of the charts and see if it fits. But from what I saw briefly, just some of the screenshots they were sharing in the group, it looked like when my model was specifically bullish or specifically bearish, MACD could be a good confirmation tool because it was accurate most of the time. Sorry, I was checking something. All right, nobody else had any other questions? I don't think anything has changed. Let me just quickly run through these. I really have liked, I've been talking about it for days. I like how hot looks. But just never really seems ready. I don't want to get in too early and take a loss, so but definitely something to watch. Cody also looked really good. Bouncing off the bottom of the cloud. You know what? Maybe I should add. You know, if I get some BCH and keep my stop loss at 2% below my entry, and my stop loss would be just below the prior local bottom over here. Well, that would be on the 4 hour. On the hourly, this actually looks pretty good. That out of the way. Yeah, tough call here. So how can I do this? So if I do why is that doing that? That's ridiculous. So if I were to jump into BCH, so this way my stop loss is 2% below my entry. But you can see here on the hourly, the 99 held really well. I'd like to keep my SL below that a little bit more, so it's probably going to be better to go 2.25%. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this. The although I mean, the hourly is getting pretty high in the stoke, but we don't have a clear repeatable pattern here, so it's not like it's a repeating pattern. I can predict the future perfectly or anything. It's kind of all over the place with the stoke. If I was going to get into one of the majors other than Bitcoin, all three looked good. BCH, Ethereum, and Litecoin all looked good. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best. Because I like the potential entry on BCH here. I might be able to get into a tighter trade on Ethereum so I don't have to risk as much. But I don't know if I'm going to have the same potential gains that I can get out of BCH. That's the caveat. But look at this. My stop loss can go just 1.5% below my entry. I get the top of the cloud on the hourly plus the EMAs. Yeah, I think... I'm going to go with Ethereum. I do like what I just showed you on Bitcoin Cash, though. I really like that. But I think since I'm kind of concerned right now about the risk side of things more than anything, I'm being super careful because I'm focused on risk here. If I was just looking for the biggest potential gains, I think BCH is probably the better play. But, I mean, the fact that I can get into Ethereum and set a stop loss just 1.4% below my entry is awesome. I mean, that's really, really low risk. That tells me that if my model fails and it dumps, I'm looking at a very, very, very small loss to the point where it's almost insignificant. And if I'm right, it could potentially be a really, really nice profitable trade. So I'm going to do this. Since I can have such a tight stop loss, it's worth it. BCH, I think, is also worth it. It's just a bit more risky, and I'm trying to avoid that risk. So that's why I decided in the end to go with Ethereum. All right. Any other questions? Somebody asked about AAV. I think I actually accidentally pulled up AAVE. Fuck it. All right. What was I looking for? AAVE, right? Well, the Daily Stoke, it's getting high. It's not that much of an issue. AAVE is also a newer listing, so it's a lot tougher. We don't have quite the data set. We don't have nearly as much data as we normally would, you know? Sorry, stand by. I'm just looking at something on my other. Alright, so with AAVE, I don't see clear models, especially the Stoke is all over the place, really hard to read. All I would look for AAVE is, will she perform well versus BTC? And for that, all you need to do, which I'm not going to do right now, is look at the last few times BTC made a big move up and then see what AAVE did, and then check what Ethereum did. The trick is Ethereum is actually really good, a good stand-in for alts. So if you're trying to identify how BTC has been performing relative to the alts, sort of like, you know, is BTC dominance going up or down? You can look at BTC and say, all right, well, during this time period, BTC went up 5% and Ethereum went up 9%. If that's the case, chances are a lot of the alts are going to be outperforming BTC substantially. And if it's the other way around, it means BTC is probably increasing at a more rapid rate, increasing BTC dominance, and you'll see it accordingly on the charts. So I would go back and see if BTC breaks up, how is AAVE performing? I don't really, I mean, back over here, I actually was able to call a really good entry on AAVE, but at this point, I don't really see anything here. I don't see anything bullish or bearish, sort of all over the place. It's really hard to read. Oh, I'm getting even more tired. Yeah, I got nothing for you in the AAVE. All right, nobody has any questions? We'll call it a night. So much for a, what did I say? Do a quick 5-minute live stream. It's been an hour and 12 minutes. All right, well, thanks for stopping by, if you did. If you don't ask any questions in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to assume that you don't have any. And let's see how my new trades do. Again, like this is a perfect example. We're having a stop loss down here below the top of the cloud would have been perfect. But I can't do it. Now, I will say, like I said, I have enough DOT and BNB specifically, but if you wanted to add to your, or set up a long-term position here, then you could place a stop loss below all that stuff. It's actually not a bad idea. Look at Hex. I meant like questions about other stuff, not chart requests. All right, I'm looking at Hex really quick, and then I'm letting you guys go. It's only showing as Uniswap, huh? Doesn't really have good data because it's coming from the DEX. You can't really do much with this because it's not the right kind of data. It's incomplete. I mean, she just keeps running up. I have nothing on this other than to say that the Stoke certainly overbought on the daily, but then again, that was the case in other stuff, and the weekly. I mean, she's been running up since this listing. But without a normal data set, it's a lot harder to really say. If you're holding Hex, I would hold on to it because I believe that we're going to see overall recovery in the market for quite a bit longer. And regardless, as BTC continues upward, everything else will follow in some way or another, even though it might not happen right away. In the end, everything should end up bullish along with BTC. I don't have a good chart for Hex, so I really can't come up with much here. Alright, I got nothing for you. Sorry. I just said this is the last time. Now you're asking me to look at Link. Didn't we look at Link earlier? We did. Watch the stream back from the video. Back from the beginning when it's over. We talked about Link. I even came up with a hypothetical Elliott wave count and said this would be the perfect time to get a bounce, but that would be a short-term bounce for a wave 5, and then we should retrace again before making the final push-up later on. But we have to break through the bottom of the cloud. Shouldn't be that hard if we get even a nice breakout on the 5th wave. That motive can really take us over that line. What else was I looking at before? Yeah, on the 4-hour, 55 EMA, 382 support. This actually looks really good. Link, the reason why I didn't get in, there's too much resistance above it. We got horizontal resistance. We have the cloud here. It feels a little bit tough, and I figured I'd rather put money into other stuff. All right, I'm going to call it a night. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I appreciate it. It was nice to have you. I haven't done a live stream publicly with people outside of the private group in a while. So just a reminder, if you showed up here from YouTube and you're not in my private group, if you wanted to join it, if you wanted to learn about all this stuff and learn from me so I can teach you and mentor you and you can become a better trader and stop losing money and getting your ass kicked in the market, that will be awesome. There's info about the group in the description of the video. Just click on the link. It'll take you to Discord, and then you can see all about joining it and what the process is and how much the costs are and everything. All right. Thanks again. I will catch up with you guys next time. If you're in the group, for those of you in the group who didn't come here from YouTube, I'm available, obviously, if you need me. So just DM me in the Discord group or tag me in the chat channel or whatever, and I'll be available for a little bit, but I'm going to bed relatively soon, probably in like a half hour. So if you need something, let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. I'll do a update when I wake up. Now, before I actually fall asleep, if we see any sort of rapid breakout and my trades go up, or if my trades dump and I get stopped out, I might do a quick video update. But if that doesn't happen, if we continue with this generally board movement pattern, then I'll give you an update in the morning. All right, that's it. Have a good one, everyone. What do I say? Oh, yeah. Trade safe and trade smart.